Hello and welcome. This is Lance Watene, everybody, and you're on the Finding Your Voice platform, a platform that aims to keep everybody connected during a time of social disconnect, lockdown, and global isolation. Lance, you and I have met many moons ago. For everybody else who may not know Lance, and he's a bit of a figurehead in South Auckland, but if you don't know him, let me just quickly tell you just a little bit about him, okay? Started off as a high school teacher. He moved then overseas, did a whole bunch in the sport and recreation fields. He's been on regional sports trusts. He's worked in community and youth development. He's also been on local and central government bodies. He also, in around about 2015, so around about 5 years ago, decided, much like possibly a lot of us are going through right now with having a whole bunch of time to ourselves, really started to question his work-life balance, and so moved from what he was doing into becoming more of a community advocate or being a community voice. And when I asked him what that meant, the sentiment of what he was saying was that there were a whole bunch of community projects that were getting created or were getting implemented, and Lance was questioning whether or not they were actually serving the community that they were designed for. And so I think that that just is such a testament to who Lance is and who I've become to know him as. He is all about the youth. He is all about the community. So Lance, just with that, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You were just volunteering, which I'd love to hear a little bit more about. We haven't spoken about that, so let's just deep end you as well. But Lance, thank you so much for coming on board. Tell us a little bit about what you were just doing, and then let's get cracking into all the amazing things that you are doing at the moment.
Thanks, Laura. You know, it's and thank you for saying all those kind things about me. I'll give you an ice cream later. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I just got back, and I've had the wonderful opportunity during this lockdown period to be part of a volunteer group serving Meals on Wheels to a number of our community. They're not only as individuals and couples, and so especially the elderly, and especially those who have disabilities. And you know, it was just an opportunity for me to do something else during this lockdown period, and you get out there and you do it, and then once you start to realize and you start to visit other people that you do not know, other parts of the community that you may not have visited previously, then you start to realize that our community is made up of a lot of different individuals, a lot of different levels of wealth, and those have and have not, and you become a lot more in my life a lot more thankful for what I have, and a lot more aware of others, and aware of, okay, how can I be of benefit and support them.
And I think that would actually just give you such a greater insight into your role as community advocate or community voice, because you're now really getting down and dirty. You know, you're getting involved with the people who you are, I guess, aiming to serve, but you're also getting that different perspective. You know, you're so involved in the community anyway, but you possibly are getting to see a totally different side that maybe you might not have been privy to before COVID came along.
You know, I don't want to criticize others, but just for me, you know, sometimes you can walk along in life with blinders on, and not see others. I saw a television interview with a political official in the United States, and it was about racism. And this individual was saying that, hey, you know, he'd never seen racism in all his life. And, you know, I was just sort of reflecting on that, and that could be possible. It could be really possible that we don't see some of the things happening in life that others are involved in, and that, you know, and because of that, maybe we're not as well-rounded as we think we are, and maybe we're not as serving others as we think we are also.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty behind this entire thing that's happened to us right now. I mean, we say it's happened to us, but maybe it's actually happened for us. you know, that we were so busy rushing from one thing to the next. You know, like you say, we had our blinkers on, we couldn't see anything else other than where we were going. We couldn't see the fact that there was a homeless person or whatever, or we chose not to see it because we couldn't attend to it, or whatever, you know. But we've been given this opportunity where we can actually just sit with ourselves and sit with our thoughts and start to go, man, you know, what is actually important to me right now? You know, is it just important that I myself succeed and I move up the ladder and I have money and I have wealth? Or is it also about, hey, well, you're only as strong as everybody else around you. And so if we are able to go or if we're starting to question this and we're able to go, okay, well, how can I help somebody else out there and get them up nice and strong, and to make sure that they're supported as well, because then they'll be able to support other people as well. And so isn't that community, isn't that ideally what it is that we should all be doing, instead of functioning so individualistic and so in a box? Wouldn't it be better just to try and take those blinkers off just a little bit, or be able to expand them out and to actually allow ourselves to acknowledge what it is that's actually happening around us?
Yeah, sure. You know, we have the situation where the lockdown has caused us to stay in our bubbles. But as I have been in my bubble, and as my wife and I and one of our girls, our daughter, have walked around the community, we've seen so many others in their bubbles, and I agree with you that it's an unfortunate situation that we're in, but there are opportunities that are out there and ready to present themselves to us if we become in tune to looking towards a different future, and looking towards, like, how can we serve others within the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, really love that. And let's talk about how you have been serving the community with your sport. I know you through basketball, when they used to bring the kids down many moons ago. We won't say how many. And you used to do that over at the Papakura Rec Centre, which is literally just down the road here in South Auckland. Now, I believe that you, before lockdown, you were still running them on the, what nights were they? They were the Friday nights for your years 1 to 4. You were running that at the Rec Centre. What does that look like? So if anyone was like, oh, sorry, what, you run basketball? Tell me more about it. So you'd have a whole bunch of courts going and a whole bunch of screaming kids running all over the place, or how did that look?
So that's the way it is. But I'm going to say that no, it's all organised and it's all structured. I think over the years, my colleague Willie Yossia and I have come to the understanding that in sport, recreation, and leisure, there's a variety of levels, and one of the levels is that people just, and children in particular, just want to participate. And we've come to the realization that the participation side of sport is the biggest part. And as you start moving up towards competitiveness, and then, shall we say, the elite, it becomes fewer. So we've focused ourselves on the participation side, and providing the opportunity for Johnny and Mary and whoever to have a go. And then, yes, we hope to, along that way, give them some skills and experiences that's going to keep them in a sport for life. And that's it's really rewarding. It's tiring at times, but it is rewarding to see smiles, to see families coming together, to see generations of mums and dads and nans and grandpas and little Johnny, and to see them come back when they're you've seen them when they're 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9 and 10, but see them come back as teenagers, as young adults, as parents themselves. All that is, you can't put a value on that. You can't put a price on that, but it's certainly really, really exciting for us to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like giving back to it, almost like you're giving so much of your time and your energy, you and Willie. I mean, I've seen you guys on the field. Those kids are, they look up to you guys. Like, you're just like so amazing, because you still maintain a sense of discipline around them. But the games that you play with them, I remember you gave them like little armbands or something, and if they were a certain color, you had to run that way, and if they were the other color, you needed to run the other way, and your ball went into that hoop. And the kids would all be a little bit pandemonium like, but they would love it, and they'd all come off all red and hot and sweaty, and and just and loving the sport, which is what's so important, right? Because there's a lot of parents out there, type A personalities, or ones that have, you need to compete and you need to go and do well. Some kids just don't want to. They actually just want to do it because they love having a play. And I like what you were saying then, is that, it's about participation. It's about having a go. Sure, absolutely. I'm sure if you identify talent, you'd be like, come and have a chat with me, Johnny. Where's your mum and dad? Let's go and talk. But I really like the idea of not putting on so much pressure onto the kids, because you see such a quick drop off. Like as soon as you start doing it, the sport declines. They don't like it anymore. Your kids now no longer doing a sport activity. They're going to play the recorder. It's just like, it doesn't, it's not always, we don't always do things the best way that we can. And so when they do have a team sport that is fun and enjoyable, and like, with you guys there, your personalities just make that all work, and I speak from the heart, because I've watched you, not in a stalkery way, but I've watched how you, and observed your coaching skills, and it's, amazing. So I would really recommend that anybody who was even thinking that they were going to get their child involved, I definitely think, sure, if you're going to do individual sport, that's awesome, but marry it up with a team sport, because then they learn so much more about social skills and helping together, and then you've got your community feel as well. So if they weren't in the area, they couldn't do at the Papakura Rec Centre, you're also running these on Monday nights for your years 5 upwards through to adults, and that's run at the Bruce Pullman Arena in Walters Road in Takanini. So there's another opportunity. Sounds like you're really busy.
Yeah, it is. It's busy, but what I found in my experience was that because my children and my family, including my wife, was involved in that as well, there was family time there, and so we had an opportunity to do something together, all of us, and it worked. It worked for us. It worked for us, and I'm thankful that it has.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important right now, because we're having a whole bunch of family time right now. And I think it's how our experience of that and our memories of this time is really based off how we've reacted to the fact that we're in our bubbles and we're having to have this time together. It's making, breaking, or norming, or forming, or storming. It's just like people are either going to be loving it and their connections with their children and with their parents are going to be growing exponentially and never look back, or there's that chance that maybe they're not working out as well. So when you do have the opportunity, as you say, family time, or even if you haven't thought about this, potentially that once sport's back on, this might be a nice option. Why don't you give it a go and just see? And no pressure, it doesn't matter if you're not winning. Just go in there and just do your best. Just go and have some fun. And maybe that would be a good way for some new people to look at it as a, hey man, we're out the house, we're allowed to do sport, let's try something new, or let's go back to it because we did it forever and then we stopped and we don't know why we stopped, and just really, I guess the invitation's there, right? To say that once everybody's back up and running, to give it a go. Like don't be so stuck in the fact that you're at home and you can't do anything. Actually use this as an opportunity to reset and to get back into your sport.
Yeah.
And it's not just basketball, you've got touch going as well.
Yeah, touch is an opportunity for children and young adults and youth to play another sport. New Zealand being an oval sport country, and the reason why I say an oval sport, because I suspect during the winter time in particular, the most sport shown on TV would be the oval sport. And even with our New Zealanders, when they come in and potentially they see the rugby and the leagues being played, that they want to play it. Body shape or ability or experience may not be on their side. So here's another sport of touch that you can throw a very similar ball around and be on a playing field that looks similar and could lead into the contact sport or not. I become, over the years, it's really interesting because let's take soccer for example. Sometimes as a young person you're growing up and you're playing your own sport and you say, oh, that game's too easy, or it's dumb is the word that sometimes you use, but now I really appreciate, and I begin to observe the skill sets of the netballers, the soccer players, the hockey players, all these sorts of things, that it's just so wonderful that we live in a country where our children and ourselves can have the opportunity to play a lot of sports. Or it doesn't have to be a sport, a lot of activities, a lot of recreation. We're just so lucky to be a New Zealander and to live in a country where we can call our own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at this point right now is movement. It's movement, isn't it? It's getting off your bum. It's getting outside the house, getting into the garden and doing something, even if it's just learning basic dribble skills, or basic ball skills, catching, passing, anything like that. It's a start, right? It's getting your heart rate up. It's getting connections between, mum and dad, or brother and sister, or whatever the thing is at home. But sport is just such a big community thing, and it's just such a big connecting thing, especially within New Zealand. Like you say, we're such a sports focused country that it's almost a disservice if we don't try and encourage our child to at least just give something a go, and if you don't like it, just stick at it and then try something else, but give it a go.
One of the philosophies I have now is that when I'm asked to, whatever sport that I'm coaching, asked to coach them, I always try and involve mum and dad in either a warm-up session or a part of the session, because when you and I aren't around as coaches, mum and dad can then connect, have an opportunity to do something. Now, you don't have to be the best sports person, and may not even be sports, but even walking the dog down the park or whatever it is, I just found that over time, sometimes we as parents may not have had the time or the opportunity to connect with our children and to our young person and to our loved ones. And sport, recreation, leisure, or just play, or just activities that bring ones together is beneficial all around.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about once lockdown finishes. So we're in level 3 at the moment. When can you go back? Is it to sport? Is it only level 1, or when it's all cleared?
Yeah, the Sport New Zealand hasn't refined their criteria or descriptions as much as we would like to in level 2. But I suspect in level 2, physical contact will be limited, if not zero. So yes, I suspect we'll need to wait until level 1 to see social distancing, all these sorts of things will impact on the future sport that we're going to be involved with.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. It may bring something new, something creative. If we're still waiting for something that we did in the past, circumstances may be beyond our control, that it may not happen. So we need to be looking at. I'm looking at several webinars that appear on the internet in regards to the future of employment, the future of philosophies, the future of housing, accommodation, all that sort of stuff. And I think we need to be aware of some of the opportunities that are going to present themselves.
Yeah, and possibly creating those opportunities ourselves as well. You know,
Absolutely.
not thinking so much in our old way of thinking, but kind of going, okay, look, you know, we're Zooming now. I didn't know about Zoom before this
Sure.
happened. You know, so
Mm.
if we can just have such a steep learning curve, and we can handle so much change, then what is there still potential for? You know, and that's exciting. And it's not just about online stuff, but it's about, well, how do we, you know, is there anything else now that we can see that would be an improvement to our sport? And how can we engage the community more? You know, all these other questions, which I think are such a fantastic time for that, because we're having a bit of time to think about it now, as long as we're using our time
Absolutely.
wisely. Yeah. So is there a chance, like I know, for example, touch is more summer, is that correct?
Yep.
And basketball?
Yeah. So historically, we would have sports that had their own seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and winter and summer sports. But I can see in the future, and it's happening now, that some sports can be all year round.
Mm.
Basketball can be all year round. Tennis can be all year round,
Yeah.
and I can see that now. But now it comes down to access to resources and to the grounds and to facilities.
Mm.
That's going to see how that rolls out. But
Yeah.
I can see that to be a lot more prevalent as we move forward.
Mm.
That some of the sports may just cross boundaries and just keep going.
Yeah. And I think that now would be the time really where you can start to think about all that, and you can start doing your bookings, and you can start, you know, doing your scheduling, and I guess even getting out information to the parents to go, hey, look, you know, we're waiting for level 1, but we're thinking that this is what we might do, and actually extend the season out. Because I was kind of going, okay, well, if you're a summer sport, we're going into winter now, and then let's just say lockdown finishes, but you haven't had a summer season. Is there opportunity for you to go, hey, we're going to run this during the winter as well? You
Sure.
know, because that could be quite awesome if there's a whole bunch of kids that are sitting around at home going stir crazy because they don't have their activity levels being met. You know, like kids need to move, and I can tell you right now with my daughter, she is not moving enough. You know, and that's reflecting in her sleep patterns, and her eating patterns, and her mood levels, and all of this. That if there is that opportunity to extend seasons or to just blur the lines, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess you've got the issue around, yes, well, what happens if they play a winter sport and then a summer sport and they coincide? I guess you'd have those issues. But
Yeah.
exciting times ahead, hey, Lance?
Yeah, I like your usage of the word movement, because that's an important part of human physiology,
Yeah.
and I think that we've observed on a number of occasions the lack of movement,
Yeah.
and some of the issues that arises because of it. So we don't necessarily have to do sport. We can do other stuff, and I look forward to be a part of, possibly being a part of something new that comes up that we just don't know what it is, but we're fantastic.
Yeah. And just talking about movement as well, is that if you imagine that we've got such a high percentage of water in our body, and water, if we don't move, or if water doesn't move, it stagnates, right?
Absolutely,
And
yes.
and then you have, you know, bugs growing and algae growing, and it smells, and it changes color, and all that kind of stuff. So and therefore, if we can equate like a stagnant pool of water, and we can equate that to ourselves, if we're made up of so much water, we also need to move so that we don't stagnate. And that's not only stagnating physically and physiologically, but it's emotionally, mentally, you know, spiritually, and all that. So, I mean, sport, that's one way to do it. Walking the dog is another way to do it. Yoga is another way to do it. But if somebody is inclined to want to play sport, then there's just so many added benefits to it, you know. And I think that I'm really hoping through people hearing you speak and really talk about it, because you just speak from the heart so much, is that they might actually just go, you know what, let's just give this a go again. You know, let's try this again.
Yeah.
And so I'd really like to direct people towards your website. Pardon me. It's www.sporty.co.nz. And using that, there's then three other ways that they can then find various things. So they can go / Papakura Bears basketball,
Yes.
okay, or they can go / Papakura Junior Touch, which is the touch that's run at Pullman Park in Takanini. And then they could also go / Pukekohe Junior Touch. So
That's right.
yeah, so you've got the three avenues that people can get hold of you on, which is really exciting. Now, I understand that obviously you've got lockdown and everything happening, so you're not signing anybody up, but potentially is there a wait list, or is there a contact list or a database that they would go onto?
Yeah, just go to the website, and then there's contact information there that you can just email through, and you can go on a waiting list.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds amazing. Lance, just in closing, do you have any words of advice or wisdom that you would like to impart on our audience just before you go?
I think just a couple of things. One is when we first opened up this discussion, we spoke about community involvement, you know, and but I think we, as a citizen and as a community resident, we have the right to be involved in a lot of things in our community that possibly we're not aware of. If our children go to certain schools, you know, we have the opportunity to be a part, and we have the right to ask what's going on in regards to decisions made in that school.
Yeah.
In the community, if they're for example, in some parks with alcohol and certain substances, you know, we want them to be less available, or less to be in front of our children. You know, we have the right to be a part of a decision making in regards to what happens on that park and so forth. And my next one is, as individuals and as adults and as citizens of our community, we also have the right to make decisions, and but we've got to be aware that some of the decisions that we make have consequences that may not be what we want. So, you know, we should look at decisions that are going to be beneficial for all. And my last thing in regards to sport, recreation, and leisure, you know, we live in a country that is free of a lot of the ills that happen in other countries, and we have a lot of opportunities here. That you know, let's allow our nation and our new New Zealanders that are here, and those who are coming up through the grades from juniors to youth. Let's allow them the opportunity to enjoy our country and make this country as the best that it can be.
Absolutely, I love that. And there was your strong community voice that was coming out there. And I think what a beautiful reminder it is to everybody that we do have that voice, that we are able to express it. And if we feel like we're not able to express it, to then go through other avenues like what you might provide, Lance,
right.
and get you to take on their feedback. So, you know, again, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to get this video up there, because I just want to kind of spread the word. You know, I really do appreciate everything that you've done, and for, you know, sharing your story and your views with us. Really amazing. Thank you so much. All right. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.